Hi, I'm Amina Wasuma, and I'm here to talk about my novella, For the Love of Blood. Episode 2, Love at First Sight. Now, where we left off the last time, Blood and Amber had met, like two strangers in the night, at the Den Club, and Blood invited her out on a date. Now, this is after midnight, and she leaves the Den Club with him. So did she make the right choice? Well, we'll see. She and Blood end up at the VIP spot. Now, this is an up-class jazz cocaine bar. Where patrons go and they listen to jazz music all night and they sniff quality cocaine and, they buy drinks, champagne or whatever alcoholic beverage they desire. So now Blood and Amber enter the club. They're searched by the bouncer, and they're clean. They don't have any guns on them. And Blood pulls out $100 worth of pure cocaine. He sells it to the bouncer. So the bouncer lets him in, and him and Amber, find the booth to sit at. And he whips out some cocaine, and she sniffs it. They order drinks, and she knows her coke. She's a connoisseur of the narcotic, which surprises him because he knows, his drug also. And that's one thing they have in common. The second thing they have in common, well, she's struggling. And, she's been struggling, trying to be a model. And this is 1970s. And blonde and blue-eye girls are what the market is looking for. And so she's struggling, trying to become successful, trying to sell her look. And cocaine, she uses it to keep herself thin. Okay, so he struggled all his life also. So then she gets to talking about her mother. Her mother died when she was young. And he was like, wow, my mother, was murdered. And she said, what? Yeah, my mother was murdered by the Ku Klux Klan. And she was like, oh, tell me about it. That's horrible. So he says, well, one night in 1960, I was in the Mississippi swamp, and it was a hot, muggy night, and I was running from the Klan, and I had to get home to warn my mom that they were coming. And, it was alligators, it was snakes, I got cut by rocks, it was mud. It was everything that seemed to be, an obstacle. And once he got out of the swamp, he fell and he got back up. But anyway, finally he made it home. And when he got home, he saw 20 Klansmen standing outside of his shack. His mother, Irma, was in the shack, and she was yelling, Blood is not here. I don't know where he is. I haven't seen him. So one of them lit up a Molotov cocktail and threw it through the window into the shack. And the shack set ablaze. And the fire, hit Irma's liquor on the table, and that exploded, and she caught fire. And they kept throwing Molotov cocktails through the window. And all Blood could do was hide in the bushes and just look. He would not dare approach the house. And she's screaming and hollering, and she's up in flames, and she's twirling around, and finally she busts out of the door and falls on the ground. And the Klansmen just watch her burn to an ember, and the shack along with her goes up in smoke. And then they get in their car and they leave. Well, Blood comes out of his flashback, and Amber feels so much compassion for him, overwhelmingly so. And, she holds his hand, and she says, my mother died of cancer, but that was like a blessing. She suffered so long, and the death was actually relieving her of the pain. But to see a mother being mutilated in the way Irma was mutilated, and for a child to see that is horrifying. And she says to Blood, you talk about it like it's not you. And he says, no, it's not. It's like an out-of-body experience. I remember every smell, sight, sound. I'll never forget it. And she says, well, the coke actually helps you with this trauma. And he says, yeah. It just dulls the pain, doesn't alleviate it. And now he's in love with her. He's enamored with her. I mean, this is love at first sight, because she's so compassionate. And so they listen to music, for the rest of the night and sniff coke. And it's around 6 a.m. when they leave the spot. And Blood says, I'm going to call you. And she says, sure. She doesn't believe it because, she's a beautiful woman and men gush over her, whether they are sincere or not. So she's used to it. And he says, no, I'm going to call you. And she says, okay. And then he gives her a passionate kiss. And she's like, wow. And he puts her in a cab and she goes home. So now, what do you think? Do you think that she likes him, or it's the chemistry between them, or she just feels sorry for him? So tune into episode 3, where secrets are revealed, to find out.